So guys, today I wanted to make a video about what is the next most probable jets to be added at the end of each line of each tech tree in the game. Of course, if I would do this for every single nation in one video, it would be the longest video ever, right? It would be like 50 minutes. So I really wanted to take a step back and do something that I did a while back with the tech trees. What is the future of the tech tree and stuff, and do each of these videos for one nation if they get going. You know, it's always a test when you are creating content. So we need to, I mean, as content creators, you can take a look at what people like, what people click and stuff, and always trying to improve. So will be one of the ideas, one of the tests that I do. If you guys like this type of video, I can continue to do. So the objective here is to basically think about options and try to kind of predict even what are going to be the next step up in top tier after the last vehicle that was added. So for example, what is the next vehicle after the F-16C Block 50 that was added to the US? What is the next vehicle after the F-15C MSIP2? What is the next vehicle after the F-14B, after the AV-8B Plus, and after the F-111F for each of the lines of that tech tree? Okay, so let's get going. I don't want this video to be too long after all, right? The first one, we're gonna start from the left to the right, talking about the F-16. The F-16, guys, is pretty much the last aircraft that we can kind of have there, unless we see something like an F-35A or something like that. But even then, this is going to take too much time. So I think we are very, very like long off that type of aircraft coming to the game. So what I actually think is going to be added after the F-16C Block 50 is literally the same aircraft, you know, a copy paste of that aircraft, but with an upgrade to the radar. I hope is just an upgrade to the aircraft itself, but we all know Gaijin, they normally don't do this. They normally just add another vehicle. So what I think is that they're gonna add the upgrades that they are doing right now. The US is upgrading some of these F-16s, Block 40s and 50s, to have the APG-83, right, which is an IASA radar, an electronic scanned array radar on the active type, right? So it would be pretty much the same aircraft on the terms of performance. On the terms of missiles, obviously, it would carry the most modern missiles out there today. Later models of the AIM-120, like the Cs, and of course even D variants, and of course you can even consider the AIM-9X, you know, maybe here and there ground ordnance that it's new, but everything else would be pretty much the same. Just more modern weapon systems here and there, but most importantly, a new radar. But it would probably be called an F-16C Block 50. Even I saw some people actually suggesting that we might even see an upgrade to the existing aircraft right now, you know, that it is right now in the game, and then maybe later to connect between the F-16As and F-16C Block 50 to have like a Block 40 or 30 or something. That could be something as well that would be cool. But honestly, I think it's most realistic that we can expect another F-16C, the same as we always thought, like the same aircraft that is right now, but with better weaponry and an electronic scanned array radar. Okay, then we go for the second one, the F-15C MSIP2. Guys, unfortunately, the US doesn't have a lot of new projects on that regard of these two aircraft, so you will probably see another level of that type of upgrade. Okay, an F-15C with an IASA radar, an electronic scanned array radar. There are two options, the APG-63 V2, so it would be the same aircraft, literally like an MSIP2 aircraft, but there were like 15 or 18 or something like that that were upgraded to this radar in the early 2000s that could actually be added, or the later model, the V3, that I think they are upgrading the aircraft right now with, right? So it would be a little bit more modern. Any of these radars could be used as a radars, of course. So the main difference between the MSIP2 that we have right now in the game and that one with the IASA would be the radar, and obviously the missiles missiles again. So of course he would take the 9X and obviously AIM-120Cs, these, and all sorts of things, right? Remember, these radars, they do provide the aircraft with an instantaneous detection. That's why they are going to be so good, right? But the performance of them itself, it's the same. It's just that the missiles and of course the radars, it's pretty similar to something like the Abrams, right? The later Abrams and stuff like that they are adding, they don't really bring anything too different. It's just tiny little bit of armor there, a new, you know, ammunition here. So it's kind of the same line of thinking with the F-16 and F-15. So these two lines will probably have another F-16 and another F-15. Then we go for the F-14. Obviously, we can have two options over here, but the most likely one that I think can happen is that the next vehicle after the F-14B would be the F-14D, the Super Tomcat. I really honestly think that they are gonna add this thing. Of course, there is always the possibility of the F-18 Hornet, but I just have a feeling that they will enjoy actually adding the F-14D Super Tomcat. Remember, this is pretty much the same aircraft as the B variant, but the main difference here, of course there are other like little differences, but the main one is that it uses a completely new radar, the APG-71 if I'm not mistaken, which uses the technology coming from the later models of the radars produced in the 80s and 90s, right? Not quite AESA yet, but it would be very similar to something like an F-15E, you know, radar, right? So I think it's just a very, very, very powerful aircraft. And of course, in real life, they tested, they didn't put it into service, but they tested this aircraft with the AIM-120. So if they test it, he probably will have it in the game, as we saw with other aircraft added to the game, right? So it's always like that, isn't it? Then we go for the AV-8B+, and this is where I think the F-18 have a little bit more chance of coming up, because, you know, in between the F-14s, it would be cool as well, and they can add it, but we don't know yet. We need to wait and see. I might be completely wrong, but I just have a feeling that they might add the F-18s in between there, because the F-18 is the pinnacle of multi-role for the US, you know, especially for the Navy. And since we already have an USMC aircraft, which is the AV-8B+ there, an USMC Marines, right, F-18 would be cool to have that. Maybe the A variant and C variant can come together with the F-14s after the F-14s or something, and then after the AV-8B+, maybe the B variant or D variant of the F-18, the B-placed ones, or something like that. It would be very, very cool. But yeah, guys, I don't need to say what the F-18 is. I did a whole video about it, so you can check it out. But it is a very, very good video. I mean, I hope so, but a very good aircraft. And then we have the most difficult one to actually predict what is going to be the next aircraft for it, which is the F-111F line, which is the bomber line of the US, right? I have three options over here, with one of them being the most likely one in a not too far future, but not very soon future as well. So I'm kind of confused of which of these are going to be added, but I think one of them is going to be the most likely one. So after the F-111F, there is basically no other F-111 technically that can be added. So maybe some modernization here and there, but in general, it wouldn't be enough maybe to another version of this aircraft. So of course we can think about two like bombers that kind of substituted the F-111 in its role, and then a fighter bomber. So the bombers would be maybe the F-117, which is a stealth bomber. It would make a lot of sense. It would be very modern. It would be very slow and not very good at dogfighting or anything like that. It wouldn't have a cannon. It would carry only like 2 guided bombs. But it's still an interesting aircraft. But again, I mean, difficult to see in the tech tree especially. Probably if added, it would be an event vehicle or something like that, right? But still. Another one could be the B-1B. But to be honest, I don't think Gaijin is gonna add larger bombers like that one, the Lancer, right? So the one that I think is the most likely one is the F-15E. Yes, the Strike Eagle, I think, is the one that it's the most likely one. It would really bring another type of aircraft for them. Fighter bomber that it's really... It really is multi-role in the terms of literally does everything, and it is an Air Force aircraft. You know, it really is multi-role. It can do BBR, it can do, I mean, it has better radars than the normal F-15s that we have in the game. It would be a little bit heavier, but it's not by much as well. It's not like the aircraft is gonna just die. It's gonna be heavier, and it's gonna do less dogfighting, and it's gonna be a little bit slower and stuff, accelerating. But at the end of the day, it's just, this aircraft will be one of the best ground attack aircrafts in the game, right? Amazing radar, air-to-ground radar, everything with that. You can carry basically everything together with air-to-airs. Like, I mean, they can add the late 80s version, they can add the more modern versions, or one, then the other afterwards. They can do whatever, right? If they add the older version, it could be added right now with the M120s that we have, with the missiles and bombs that we have. Of course, later we can have a more modernized version out of it that can carry better M120s and better M9s and stuff as well. So that's what I think it's the most likely thing to come after the F-111. And yeah, guys, basically this is it. This is one aircraft after each line of the tech tree that can actually come. These are the most likely ones. This is what you should expect in the soonish future. So F-16s, F-15s, a new F-14, F-18s, and of course the F-15E. So this is my opinion, obviously. Leave yours in the comments, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye guys, subscribe. See ya.